talk with you.
Oh, welcome to the Wellness Unwrapped podcast. This is such an honor for me to have you on this because you've been such a teacher and a mentor for a long time now. And to have you as a guest here is really amazing. So thank you for joining me this morning.
Well, thank you for all you're doing to spread the word and spread great information. So well done you, Susie.
Thank you. Thank you. So I haven't actually done a podcast episode about tapping yet. So this is, I have to say, I'm the most excited about this episode of all of them because it is such a gift. You know, it's a gift that you've given to me, that I've shared with so many other people. And my hope is that by people listening to this episode, they can have this tool in their toolbox from today for the rest of their lives. So I'd like to start by you just explaining a little bit, if that's okay with you, Gwyneth, of what tapping stroke EFT is.
Okay, well, the first thing, if people don't know anything about it, the first little kind of thing I say about it is it looks daft. It feels silly. And you're going to think, how on earth can that make a difference? We're going to be tapping at certain places on our faces and bodies. And you think, well, why would that do anything? Why would that change anything about how I feel, how I think, how I behave? And yet it does. When I first heard of this, I was completely skeptical. Yeah, you know, that's daft, that's too silly, that's too weird. And then it kept coming up and it kept coming back and it kept coming. And so at one point I sat down and thought, right, I've got to find out about this. And a friend of mine had bought it was then videotapes, this was nearly 20 years ago. And I watched them and I thought, okay, there's something happening here. I tried it for myself. I was having at that time, I was between jobs and I was just absolutely dreadful at getting out of bed in the morning. And I did some tapping and then the next day I noticed, gosh, I was up and making a cup of tea before I'd even realised that I was out of bed. And I started trying it with some other people. A friend of mine was terrified of spiders. And in fact, this was she said it's our main marital argument, because she said my husband goes out to work, I work from home, and if he hasn't remembered to bring logs in, I can't go out to the wood pile. And I blame him for me being cold and blame him because there's spiders in that wood pile. I can't go out there. And we just did some tapping. I said, this looks daft, it feels silly, I've only just learnt it, I've really no idea how it works or if it works, shall we have a go? And 5 minutes later, she's going out to the woodpile to look for a spider. And we're both like, wow, that was good. So then, you know, I've done 20 years of practicing, learning, studying. It still amazes me, it still surprises me, it still delights me.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm going to just add in at this point how I found my way to EFT, which was about 8.5 years ago when my dad passed away. And I was sliding more and more into this state of just being bottomlessly sad. I wasn't really functioning properly. I couldn't be around people. I completely lost my ability to smile when I saw people, which really affected me because I'm normally quite a smiley person. And I was just getting worse. As the months went on, I was just getting worse. And I was very fortunate in that a friend of mine, Ruthie Portnoy, who you had trained, you had literally just trained. And she said, you know, I've just trained up in this thing. Come over and, you know, we'll tap together. And I was blown away. I had 2 sessions with her. And that was it. I had my smile back. It wasn't that I'd like forgotten about Dad all of a sudden, but I had got out of this place where I really wasn't, you know, being myself. I just wasn't myself. And then suddenly I was again. So I thought, this is just mind-boggling. And I decided there and then that I wanted to train up in it to help other people, whether it be with bereavement, like I was suffering, or anything else, because I don't think I'd ever seen something so effective that was so simple.
Yes, and the other lovely thing about it is it's not like counselling or psychotherapy where you're seeking to understand, that you're seeking to find meaning. It's really just a way of cleaning up, you know, like you clean your kitchen, or if you do it, it's a way of cleaning up the stuck stuff, the stress, the shock, the stuff from the past that has stuck to you. This is how you clean it up. And when you clean it up, you just naturally move on. People's natural, as you say, your smile came back, people's confidence and sense of well-being, it comes back. It's like the sky is always blue behind the clouds. And this is how we clean up the clouds. And the blue sky comes back. And of course, you know, just like the weather, there will be more clouds. There's a lot, but there will be more blue sky, and the blue sky is what's permanent. The clouds are temporary, and we can clean them up.
Yeah. So tell us briefly, because people, I think, would naturally be asking, well, how does this work? You know, what is happening when we're tapping on these?
First thing I would say is that modern Western science hasn't caught up with this yet. It will do, but it hasn't yet. The tapping is based upon 5,000 years worth of traditional Chinese medicine. People may have had acupuncture, or they may do things like Qigong, Tai Chi. We're working with the same energy mechanisms. Now, the Chinese have a concept called Qi, and Qi is like, it's like life force. We don't really have a word for it in our language. The Indians call it prana, the Japanese call it ki. Many other cultures have a word. We can maybe call it, it's maybe what the early doctors called vitalism. It's like the vital life force. Now, the Chinese studied it, dating back 5,000 years. And this qi, this life force energy, flowing through everything. It's in every cell of your being, but it flows most along pathways of lower electrical resistance through the fascia and the connective tissue, all the, you know, the sort of dividing bits that hold your body together. And these pathways are called the meridians. They're like the energy motorways of your body. Now, when qi, life force, is flowing smoothly through all that energy motorway system, you feel calm, you think clearly, you get on with it. Okay, when that flow on the energy motorways gets congested, gets turbulent, gets stagnant, gets you know, in a you feel and you can't think straight, or you can't think, and you're stuck, like what you described after the loss of your father. You were feeling, you were probably not thinking you clearly, and you were just stuck. Now, what we do is in EFT, we talk about the problem. We use words. And we're using those words to tune into the problem. We're not using words to make things better or change things. Because if words were going to make things better or change things, they probably already would have done. And at the same time as we use words, we're going to tap on certain places on the face and the body. Now, these places where we tap, these are like the major junctions of the energy motorway system. You know, like, where the M62 meets the M1, or where the big junctions are on the motorways. Now, imagine we have in the country the motorway system's all snarled up and congested, which it usually is. And imagine if we could get those big junctions flowing. We could get the whole thing flowing. So acupuncturists spend 3 years learning about all the many, many complex points. You know, that's like with them, they're looking under the bonnet of the car and they're learning how every little bit of it works. Well, what we're doing with tapping is we're just driving the car. We don't need to know how it works. We don't need to know what's really happening when we tap or what the different motorways are linked to. We just need to know where the junctions are and that we can tap on them. Does that make sense?
Yes, yeah.
It's about flow. You know, you can sum up traditional Chinese medicine in a few words. Flow equals no pain. 4 words, and then you can turn that round. Pain equals no flow.
Mm.
And when we get things flowing, we start to loosen the grip of pain. We start to shift it. And that applies as much to emotional pain as to physical pain. Because in the Oriental way of looking at health and healing and illness, it's emotional pain and physical pain are just different. They're on the same, they're connected, they're on the same spectrum. Our culture separates them.
Although I think that's changing now. I think there's, thank goodness, there is increasingly a recognition, you know, in the medical community, in the traditional, conventional medical community, that everything is related, okay? And, you know, what happens in our emotional body and our mind just affects the body. What happens in the body affects the mind. Absolutely. And that we really can't get people truly well until we help them to, as you say, shift these, you know, these uncomfortable feelings, these stuck traumas, which I know is perhaps a subject for another episode, but you know, the fact that when we have suffered, and everyone has suffered, haven't they, you know, different traumas, it doesn't need to be something huge like fighting in Afghanistan. We've all gone through stuff. No one's got into adulthood without
all of the little humiliations, little shocks, they stick to us. And again, this is about cleaning up.
Yeah. It's
cleaning. I say what EFT does is, or tapping does, it gets you free of the past. Yeah. And as you said, you know, it happens to everyone. One of my clients said it beautifully. He said, life throws it at you. It does. Life throws it at you. And then he said, some of it flies right past, but some of it sticks. And he said, what you do, love, is the stuff you do, this tapping, it cleans off the stuff that sticks.
Yeah. It's so true. And we're all walking around with stuff. We can't see it.
All of us.
There's no open wound that we go to A&E, but these are invisible seeping wounds that we're just walking around with.
And just like, you know, if you've fallen off your bike and say, you know, your arm's all cut and grazed and you go to A&E, and what they do is they clean it up. Every little bit of dirt, every little bit of broken glass, they clean the wound. Because when we clean a wound, it heals by itself, doesn't it?
Yeah.
If we just stick a bandage on it, which is what most of us do with emotional wounds, we just cover it up and pretend it's not there, it can fester.
Yes.
An emotional wound is just like a physical wound. We need to clean it up. And this tapping, this is how we clean it up, because then it heals by itself.
Yeah, I love that. And you're so right in that most of us tend to try and just suppress it. I remember once you telling me about the analogy of a beach ball, trying to kind of keep it under the water, and it just keeps popping up. Yeah. So when we try and repress that shame or that anger or that fear, it just keeps popping up.
And that, Susie, I think is why people get into emotional eating, and particularly emotional eating in the evenings when they, you know, they've had their meal, they shouldn't be hungry, but they're trying to keep that beach ball of stuff pushed down. And there's two things that will bring that beach ball up. One is when something reminds them of what's inside it, but the second one is when they relax. So it's evening, put the kids to bed, everything's done, time to just sit back and relax, and the beach ball comes up and goes, here I am. You can deal with me now. And we will reach for anything, you know, food, booze, whatever, to shove it back down again.
Oh, it is so true, Gwyneth. And in my role as a health coach, I'd say that a good 80 to 90% of the people who come and see me, they will say, you know, I start off so well with my breakfast is perfect, and I'm putting spirulina this, and it's all. By the time the evening comes and they're sat in front of the telly, that's when they start. And it will be
that beach ball.
Dead loads of chocolate.
When we use tapping as a therapy, which is what EFT is, what we're doing is we're cleaning out, we're deflating that beach ball. We're getting inside it so that there's less. And so then a person can relax. But what I'd like to start your listeners with, Susie, is what I call traffic light tapping, which is a really simple, it's a self-help first aid way of just using tapping to calm your whole energy system with, and you don't have to think about anything, talk about anything, analyze anything. So that's what I think, that's the best place to start.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've been using a version of this recently when I've been coaching groups on Zoom. And as you say, it's just emotional first aid. It's so quick and easy to learn, and people can just do it as part of their self-care. So let's show people.
Let's show people. Well,
yeah.
This is traffic light tapping. And people are probably thinking, what's it got to do with traffic lights? Traffic lights, whatever, or people in other countries might call them stoplights, robots, whatever they call them. It's green, amber, red, isn't it? So the first thing we do with this, and we don't have to think or talk or anything, is just notice what's going on inside you. We all show our stress, our anxiety in different ways. It might be a feeling in your chest, a tightness in your breathing, a churning in your tummy, a tension in your shoulder, whatever it is, a tightness in your jaw. We all have our own signals. So it's getting to know your signals and then noticing. So Susie, if you just notice what's going on inside you, in your body, in your feelings, in your thoughts, and you're not going to analyze it or try and change it or anything, you're just going to observe it, almost like a bird watcher noticing a bird. And then give yourself a traffic light. So green is, really calm, everything's okay. Amber is a bit, ooh. And red, well, red is stop, isn't it? So what's going on in you right now, Susie?
So I would say an amber. I have tapped this morning because I always tap in the morning. So
that's easy to say, you're an amber.
I'm an amber, but I would say a slight tightness in the tummy.
Now, when people do this, they don't need to even describe it. They just need to give themselves a traffic light. So you just say, I'm an amber, and just leave it at that. Now then.
Yeah, amber.
Feet on the floor and sit up. And we start with just taking some nice, gentle, calming breaths. Just breathing at your own speed, and breathe gently in through your nose. And slowly out through your mouth if you like, it's up to you. However you like to just do nice calming breaths. So gently in and slowly out. Gently in and slowly out. And then we're going to start to tap. And the first place we tap is on the side of your hand. It's just here at the base. Yeah, like that. Yeah. That's it. And now as we do this, you don't need to think about anything, you don't need to do anything except the tapping. Your mind can wander or it can go blank, it can do whatever it likes. So we just start here on the side of your hand. Then we're going to tap at the beginning of your eyebrows, right on where your eyebrows begin. That's it, and you're just tapping. You can tap with several fingers. And then move along your eyebrows and the outer corner of your eyes. So it's just gently on the edge of the bone there. And then move round and underneath your eye in the middle. Just tapping gently there. Next one is just above your mouth and your nose. And then underneath your mouth and your chin. Underneath your lip. And now the next one, you feel those two bumps of your collarbones. Yes, you can do it over your clothes and just below the bumps. Just tap there. Many people like the feeling of this one. It's good to give this one plenty of attention. And then you're going to tap on about 4 inches below your armpit, just on your side there. You can reach and do both. You can do both. And then come back to your collarbone again. And then we breathe again. So gently in, slowly out. Gently in, and slowly out. Gently in, and slowly out. And then we tap again. It's like a wash and a rinse. So this is the rinse cycle. We just do the same thing again. So starting here on the side of your hand. And then at the beginning of your eyebrow. And the outer corner. Underneath your eye. Your top lip. Under your mouth. And your collarbone. Under your arm. And back to your collarbone. And breathe again, so gently in. Slowly out. Gently in. And slowly out. And another one. And then bring your mind back to what's in you, what's going on in you, in your body, in your feelings and your thoughts, and give yourself another traffic light.
Do you know, green is just not enough. I feel so
So you're deep green.
Yeah, just completely chilled and, you know, relaxed and grounded.
Well, this is really easy. Yeah, you don't have to think about anything, analyze anything, and go into what it means or what happened or any of that. You notice what is going on inside you, your subjective experience right now in this moment. You give it a traffic light. Green, amber, red. Green is keep going, amber is slow down, red is stop and tap right away. Yeah, and then breathe. It's breathe, tap, breathe, tap, breathe. And the breath's just nice. They're just settling, gentle breaths, gently in, slowly out. No big breaths or anything, just normal. And then tapping. We start here. You've got 3 points around your eyes, 2 around your mouth, your collarbone, under your arm, and back to your collarbone. Breathe again, 2 or 3 nice breaths. Tap again, a wash and a rinse. Breathe again, and then come back to what's happening in you. What's your traffic light now? Now, if it's still red or amber, repeat the whole thing. Just do it again.
Yeah.
And again.
So simple. And you know what? There are so many things that I love about this. I just want to unpack a couple of them. I mean, firstly, I would say that I don't have my heart math equipment with me because I'm in my PR agency. I'm not actually at home. But if I were to test my heart rate variability now, I know for sure, having done it many times, that it would be,
Yeah.
and that's a very good mirror of what's going on internally. But that is such a quick, easy method. And I know I did a mindful breathing exercise this morning, which I always do as part of my morning routine. And my mind was it just wasn't on it. For every second of that, of that mindful breathing, I just wasn't here.
And I think if you did it now, it would be different.
I think it would be different. I think it would be.
Let me tell you, Susie, how I came up with this traffic lights, because many people would have heard of EFT where you use words and affirmations and tapping, and that can be quite difficult for people to get started with. You really need to be doing that with a partner or a practitioner, or and I've been, like you maybe have, I've been teaching people how to tap for years and years using EFT, using words, and I found that they didn't do it. They didn't tap. And I asked them why. I didn't know what to say. Now, we come into this whole coronavirus time, and I had a client on Zoom, like we're speaking on Zoom, and she's a teacher, and her husband's a nurse, and her husband was working in the ICU. And she was at home and she was worrying. She was worrying about her husband. She was worrying about the children in her class. Would they be safe at home? Because some of them were, in homes that she was worrying about. And then she was just worrying about anything she could possibly worry about. And she was worrying about worrying. And that was creating a tightness in her chest. And she was worrying she was going to have a panic attack. And I realized on this session that this wasn't about applying EFT to the things that were going on and talking about. She needed a first aid calm down that she could do quickly and easily for herself without having to think or talk about anything, because as soon as she started thinking, it set off all the worries. So I just came up with this simple traffic light thing, which is a shortened form of something called TTT. There's a lovely website called Peaceful Heart and two brilliant Swedes who use this all over the world. And this is a shortened form of what they do. And I just came up with doing this with her. And we did it several times in the session until she was red to start with. And we did it quite a few times, not really talking about anything, just doing the tapping until she came down to green. And I said to her, okay, how are you going to fit this into your life now? And she said, well, while, things are like they are, I'm going to set my phone to ding every hour, and I will just scan through myself. If I'm green, keep going. Amber, slow down, tap soon. Red, stop and tap now. And she did that. Some people might like to set a ding on their phone. Others like to do it. One friend of mine does this every time she puts the kettle on. Another one does it every time she goes to the loo. But this lady, the teacher, she emailed me about 3 or 4 days later and said, I'm just green. I get some bits of amber and I tap, but I've been finding things to do to manage this, to contact kids. And she said, I can't, from where I was 5 days ago, I can't imagine that I'm doing so well.
Oh,
and
nice. Yeah.
Should tell you about another one?
Yeah, please do, Gwyneth.
Okay, so this was a mum who contacted me because her daughter was being bullied at school.
Oh.
And she'd only just found out, and this had gone on for quite a while, and her daughter was refusing to talk about it and refusing to see a counsellor or anything, because that's when we're going through stress and stuff, our instinct is just to hunker down.
Yeah.
And particularly for teenagers. So her mum said, do you think tapping could help? I said, let it be her choice. Let us look at my website. If she thinks this can help, then let's have a go. So we did on Zoom, and mum and daughter sat next to each other on the sofa. And the first thing I said to the girl, absolutely lovely girl, the first thing I said is, I'm not going to ask you to talk about it. I'm not going to ask you to tell me anything you don't want to tell me, or to talk or to say anything that you don't want to say. Now, when you say that to a teenager, immediately you get their attention. because everyone else has been asking intrusive questions. And I said, we're going to do something, if that's okay. We're going to do something together, and Mum's going to do it too. And it looks daft and it feels silly. Is that all right? So by now I'd got her attention. So I just asked her, just what's going on inside you at the moment? Just notice what your body's doing and feeling like, what your emotions and your thoughts are. Just notice them, observe them. Don't go into them, don't kind of analyze them, and give yourself a traffic light. Now, she thought this was quite funny, and she was amber with bits of red in it. And we all did the tapping together, me and the girl and Mum. We all did traffic light tapping, and she was amber, bits of red had gone. So we just all did it again. And what was amazing, after we'd done it, the three of us, and Mum was looking a lot more relaxed, because if you're the mum of a daughter being bullied who won't talk about it, you're going to be a bit tense and anxious. And I could just see them both softening and relaxing. And then the girls started to talk about it. There were this group of lads. And so I said to her, just think about, picture them. What happens? Oh, I'm going red. Okay. We did traffic lights again. We did it a few times with her using thinking about picturing the lads as like a test. And it came right down. And then she started to say that she actually felt sorry for them. There was one of them who was a ringleader, and she knew that he had a tough time at home. And then she said, maybe he's trying to make me feel bad so he can feel better. Silly oik, she said, that doesn't work.
What an extraordinary insight to get within minutes. That's incredible.
Yeah. Because, a counsellor would kind of would have made that suggestion to her, and would it have landed? Would she have bought it? No. But after quite a few rounds of the tapping, it spontaneously came to her. And that's what I found, and you'll have found over and over with EFT. The change happens within the person.
It's so true. And it's so much more powerful when it happens within a person than anything that anybody else could ever do, no matter how eminent they are. If something comes from within a person, that's always going to be the thing that works.
Well, we are all the experts on ourselves.
We are.
And this comes back to the traffic lights. We all have different ways that stress and anxiety affect us. And the more we can get used to noticing those signs, because what we've been used to doing is, as the body starts to go into kind of amber or red, the mind just draws a trapdoor and goes, shut up, forget about it, pushes it down, tries to distract, or we try and suppress it, distract it, hide from it, lock it up. And this is a way, the difference here is the mind going to the body, oh, what's up? Should we tap?
Yeah.
Very different approach.
It is. And I just think, Gwyneth, if we can get this message out, because we know that so many of the health problems that we're seeing, and we're seeing it, COVID-19 apart, we're seeing an epidemic of lifestyle-related health problems, to do with how we eat, how we deal with stress, etc. And everything's so linked. And as you say, when people are feeling, during lockdown, if they're feeling lonely and bored and frustrated and scared because their job's in jeopardy, it's natural for them to head to the chocolate biscuits, isn't it? And then, of course, you get this whole cycle of then they feel the shame and the self-disgust, and they're putting on weight, and now they're more at risk, and I think that throwing all the information, health advice in the world is not really going to help until we help people to move through these uncomfortable feelings.
Well, this is a way to start. Traffic light tapping is the way to start, and it doesn't cost anything. You can do it almost anywhere. The handout that I'm sending you, Susie, that you please share with everyone
I'll
listening.
put it on my website and people can go and
There's
get
a
it.
little extra thing in the handout, which that we also have points in our fingers.
Yes.
But sometimes you can't be doing all of this. Maybe you're not able to wash your hands, because you need to wash your hands before touching your face. You need to wash your hands as if you chopped chilies and had something in your eye thoroughly. And we can't always do that. Or we may be in a public situation where doing this would really be kind of embarrassing. Well, I'll just show people there are points. The points in your fingertips are, they're on the side of the nail. So it's easiest, I find, to hold your hand palm upwards. And there's a point, so I'm tapping here. Do you want to do it as well, Susie? On the side of my thumb.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I'm going to go to the side of the fingernail of my first finger.
And Gwyneth, can people tap on either side of the finger?
Either hand, yeah. No, the points are, it's this side of this finger and this side of this finger. And then when we go to the fourth finger, the point is on the other side.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we go back to the inside of the little finger. It's in the handout on the side of the hand. It's good to actually to start on the side of your hand and then just go around these points. Now, you can do this tapping on one hand and then you can change to the other, but you can also do it, I'll show you, you can do it by squeezing the ends of the fingers.
Yeah.
So I'm just squeezing across the sides of the nail. Now you can do this really unobtrusively.
Yeah.
You could be in a meeting and do this under the desk.
I've done that lots of times, but no one's noticed.
Before we all shut down, I was on a train quite late at night, and this bunch of really rowdy lads got on, and it felt quite intimidating. And I was the only other person in the carriage, and I just sat and I just squeezed the ends of my fingernails.
Oh.
And it really calmed down. They got out at the next station.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as you say, it's so accessible to people because it is free. You know, if anyone's watched you now, you've learnt it. You know, you've got that in your toolbox. And it's just remembering to do it. And I would say to make it part of your daily self-care. Like I tap in the shower, like whether I need it or not, because I think it builds your emotional resilience for whatever you're going to be met with during the day.
Well, it clears out the clutter. Another good time to do it is just before you go to bed.
Yeah.
That clears out the clutter of the day.
Yes, I love that. Because
whatever's stuck to you during the day, you just clear it off. And in the morning, because things will come up in the night, and in the morning, it kind of prepares you, just like the shower is preparing you to go out nice and clean. Go out emotionally nice and clean.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, so many people are suffering with their sleep, particularly at the moment. And we know that poor sleep affects everything. And this is just such a simple thing they can do. They can do it lying in bed. It wouldn't even disturb, you know, if you have a partner in bed, it wouldn't even disturb them.
Okay, here's what to do if you have a partner in bed. Once you've got used to doing the traffic light tappings, you can do imaginary traffic light tapping. So you lie there in bed and you imagine that you're tapping at these points. Actually, a mum taught this to her 6-year-old. Children love this. And next week, mum said, shall we tap? Would you like to tap? And the little girl said, oh no, mum, I don't need to tap with you. I've got an angel with a little silver hammer who does it for me.
Wow.
We can all have our angel with a little silver hammer.
How beautiful is that? And you know, I'm thinking as you're saying that, Gwyneth, how different the world would be if children learned this along with learning to read and write. You know, if schools started the day with a round of traffic light tapping, you know, would we be seeing the scale of mental health symptoms in
In
teenagers?
French schools, they're one of my trainers, Deborah Sampson, has been teaching the educational psychologists who work throughout her department, her region of France, who are teaching the teachers who are teaching the kids. And then the kids are going home and teaching their parents.
Oh, how beautiful is that?
So in this area of France called the Corrèze, the tapping is spreading through the schools. We need tapping to be an infectious ease.
Yes, that absolutely. And you know, just talking about children, it reminded me that I have, I mentioned to you this week that last week I was on a Zoom call with a group of young adults who have disabilities, a range of disabilities, including Down syndrome. So not all of them are able to talk. And they'd suffered, unfortunately, some terrible news that morning. And I thought, well, I'm going to give this a try. I'm going to teach them this very simple tapping that doesn't involve any words. And it was so lovely to see that they felt calmer. It was a real shocking piece of news because one of their friends had died that day, very tragically. So anybody can do this, isn't that right? You don't need any age, any background.
Anybody can do
English
it.
you don't need to speak English.
The important thing in doing it as first aid is not to talk.
Yeah.
Talking can open things up, inflame things, the mind can catastrophize. So we just do it without words. And we use words when we're using tapping as EFT therapy. And then we need some expertise and skill in how we're using it, the stuff we need to know. And I've been training people like you for ages, and I'm going to be training them online soon. So, and anyone can learn how to use this skillfully. But when we're just beginners starting out, we just need to do the tapping.
Yeah, we just need to start tapping. It's so powerful. And actually, with I'm doing a 4-week group coaching program again on Zoom at the moment, and the first thing I taught them was what you've just shown me, because I know that people are not going to change their lifestyle while they're in a state of stress. Because you can't tell them to stop eating sugar when they're in that state. First of all, we need to calm them.
They're using sugar and such alike and to manage their stress. So we need to clear out stress, and then we reduce the need for the things that they've been using to manage it. Because otherwise, if anyone knows that when you've tried to change a compulsive behavior, you just transfer to another one.
Yes, yeah, and then there's so much shame and self-flagellation, all the rest of it. They just end up feeling worse. But with this simple technique where they achieve the calm, then they can make a wise decision. Then they can think, what am I going to have for dinner? So it just makes so much sense. And I'm just so grateful to you for everything you've taught me over the years, and I know you're going to teach me so much more as we go on through the amazing EFT Guild. And when I think about, I don't even know how many people I've tapped with over the years, because you know what it's like. You'll just be, I remember once I was about to go on holiday and I was having a bikini wax and the beautician was telling me that she wasn't able to go to bed before 4 in the morning. It was a hangover from an abusive relationship, and she just got stuck in this. And I was like, would you just try something? They're not really silly, but you would. And I sat there in my underwear, tapping with her. And the next time I saw her, she said, you're not going to believe this, but I'm going to bed at 10 o'clock. So it is the most amazing thing. I cannot imagine life without tapping, seriously. It is extraordinary, and I'm so grateful to you and everyone in the guild. We have such amazing teachers. Where would you like to see tapping, Gwyneth? I mean, you've taught us something today that is so simple. Where would schools?
With everyone everywhere. Really? Yes. With everyone everywhere, but particularly in all the contexts where people can get stressed, where people can get shocked. It's almost as if when they when they show the safety video on an aeroplane, it includes tapping.
But people, I've helped people who wouldn't take a flight. You know, a lot of people have a fear, and in fact, I remember in one of the workshops with you, I remember there was, I don't know if you recall, a few years ago, there was someone who just went out of herself on a plane. She just would go crazy. But I've helped a lot of people get on a plane, but even the easy jets, you know, where they get people flying, they use EFT. So, you know, you go on this like a little flight to get you over the fear of flying. That's what they use to get people flying.
Tapping needs to go to everyone everywhere, but there's so many. Everyone can start with what we've just done today. That's the place to start. And we're all experts on ourselves. We're all just ordinary people who've learned to use an extraordinary tool, and everybody makes this their own, finds their own way to use it and go. So I'd say to everyone, try it, you know, keep doing it, and then find your way that works for you.
Yeah, I love that. And there's no wrong way of doing it, is there? There's no side effects. You know, you are just doing what you've shown.
We need more skill, and we need to be careful when we're using the full EFT with words.
But what you've shown,
without words,
there's no side effects.
Yeah, not to my knowledge. I've not.
No side effects. So you can't do it wrong. You can't do it too much. You know, it's not like you could do it 5 times a day and that would be too much. You know, it's just safe.
Find what works for you, I'd say to people.
Yeah.
Make it your own.
Yeah.
And if someone does experience side effects, then stop.
Yeah.
I don't know of side effects. I know that there can be when we start using words, and we have to be more careful there. But with this simple tapping, I don't know of side effects, but that doesn't mean that there aren't any. So if someone does get a bad reaction, stop.
Yes. Yeah, that's very good advice. But I would love to imagine a world where, you know, the police did this, you know, and firemen and you know, ambulance drivers and all first responders.
In hospital waiting rooms.
Yes.
Yeah. Because though, you know, waiting at A&E, that's when everybody, not just the person with whatever the symptom or problem is, but the people who've taken them all out, everyone is kind of getting in a state. And that's a place where just a little calm down can help.
Yeah, so true, so true. Well, I really hope that this goes some way to spreading the word. And I'll put your contact details in the show notes, Gwyneth, so that people can contact you. And I will make this, I know you've got a little, it's like a download, isn't it, where you explain the steps.
Yeah, so PDF download. Please share that.
Yes, absolutely, I will do. So I want to thank you again, not only for coming on today, but for everything that you have taught me and continue to teach me. It is the most extraordinary gift, and it's an honor to be here with you to help spread this far and wide.
Real pleasure to talk with you, Susie.
Oh, thank you, Gwyneth. Take care. See you soon.
Bye. Bye.